In a surprising turn of events with this Tower card, you are about to hear from someone that you thought was like a done deal. This was somebody you thought wasn't interested. They weren't putting in much effort, or they dropped back. Communication slowed or became very dry. And so, even if you still have contact with them, it may have been very sparse, or something where you've been detaching. You've been kind of like setting your sights elsewhere, sort of like, okay, I guess I got my hopes up over nothing, or this is something where there's not compatibility between the two of us. There's not enough in common, or they're losing interest. Maybe you've thought that this person was like seeing other people or keeping their options open, but this is someone that is getting ready to surprise you in a very pleasant way. This is somebody, it feels like, that has been holding back in order to kind of suss out the situation. There may have been some fears that they were dealing with, in terms of like they approached you and they were maybe not even certain if you were someone who's going to be interested, you were going to be someone who reciprocated to begin with. And so all that buildup, all that courage that it took to take a first step towards you, that may have taken the wind out of their sails pretty quickly, because it's like, okay, now what do I do? This person is responding, we're connecting, things are going really well. And so it's almost something where, rather than kind of like admit that, which who would admit that kind of early on in a connection, or getting to know someone, sort of like, yeah, I'm really intimidated by you, let me take a step back and just kind of nurse my fears for a while before I proceed forward. No, this is somebody that has kind of just tried to stall or buy time, or maybe sort of freaked out and just kind of like backed away. But they have been sort of like watching from the wings, waiting to kind of present themselves again, or if there has still been like contact between the two of you that has sort of not been as promising, not been as detailed. It's been sort of like choppy between the two of you. This is all because they weren't expecting the connection to go as well as it did. They weren't expecting you to kind of hit it off in the ways that you did. This is something that they might have thought to themselves, well, it's going to take this person time to get to know me, or they might have even considered themselves to be an acquired taste, as far as like efforts to connect with people romantically in the past. And yet it went surprisingly well very early on, which kind of caused them to sort of need to rethink the strategy or the approach that they had tried to take to you. Something as far as like their mindset was concerned, where they tried their best to kind of like keep up with you, but somewhere along the line, this is somebody that was just kind of like, okay, I guess I'm needing to work on my confidence in some sort of way, or okay, I got your attention, now what do I do? So again, like a surprising turn of events, this person is getting ready to shock you in the best possible way, in terms of extra effort, or ways in which they, kind of pop up and sort of save the day for themselves before you detach completely, or, kind of like chalk this up as a loss and move forward in another direction. Yeah, we got the Wheel of Fortune here. So it feels like this person has been working very diligently behind the scenes to address certain fears within themselves that have caused them to almost take like an overly logical approach to the situation. It's like when you expressed interest in them, that triggered a bunch of doubts and insecurities. Like, are they really receiving me correctly? Is this something that, beyond kind of this surface level presentation of myself, are they really going to like the real me, or the deeper layers of me? All these different kind of like excuses or overthinking that had caused them to kind of stumble where they had been certain in taking steps forward, that may have definitely given you mixed signals. It got your mental wheels turning. So it feels like there's a lot that needs to be sort of clarified between the two of you, that this person might not necessarily feel that they can speak on directly, because that would be too much of an expression of vulnerability, and it doesn't feel like it's really necessary in this circumstance. It's like they just have to do better in terms of the communication. They just have to do better in terms of that consistency, or maybe kind of taking it out of the arena of where you've had your interactions so far. Like if you've been texting, or communicating over like social media, for example, this may be something where it's like, hey, we need to get together in person so we can have this face-to-face conversation. Maybe that'll help the two of us to relax, or to get a better sort of idea about the compatibility between the two of us. Or if this is someone that you've been hanging out with and you've been going out on dates with, or even just kind of like as friends, kind of going and doing things, there's been a lot that's sort of undefined or unspoken between the two of you, then this may be something where this person realizes like, I need to give more clarity. Like, yeah, this is a romantic date, you know, something that kind of like lets you know that they're wanting to accelerate things to the next level, so you don't count them out as an option. We got the Two of Swords. So typically in a lot of tarot decks, those swords are crossed, and that kind of speaks to blocked communication. But in this particular deck, both of those swords are facing straight up. So this is something where if this person was holding back, they got a little bit tongue-tied, or, you know, kind of like the nature of their attraction to you, the reality of dealing with you or talking to you like up close and personal, that may have caused them something to kind of like retreat into the comfort zone. The intellectual approach, sort of second guessing the communication, wondering if, like, again, this idea of, are you going to really like the real me beyond what I have shown or presented to you so far, that had created this essence of like, they weren't telling you the full story. You know, they were holding back in some sort of way, or creating very consciously like periods of time where there was no communication between the two of you, not to play mind games, but because they were playing a game with their own mind. They were stumbling, they were tripping themselves up. But with these two swords that are uncrossed and up in the air, it's like Ace of Swords, Ace of Swords. This is somebody that feels like is getting ready to provide you with a different sort of communication than had been the case before. And it's something which leads to like a new trend in your communicating, where there's a lot more clarity. This is somebody that has, you know, done some shadow work, has addressed some sort of fear within, where, you know, they would rather kind of like put themselves out there more than they have, and sort of risk the possibility that as you get to know them better, as you get to know the real them, you know, that it's something that you might not align with one another, but that risk is less kind of scary than the risk of sort of like, if they continue to hold back, or, you know, continue to kind of use silence as a shield between the two of you to kind of protect themselves, and this sort of fear of being known for who they are, the idea of you like totally detaching, moving forward, you know, meeting someone else, it feels like that's the scarier option out of the two in this scenario. So this is somebody that knows that maybe your patience is running thin with them, or it could be something where, you know, they've given you no good reason to kind of hold on, to wait for them, to expect that there would be anything different up to this point in time. And so this is something where they have enough kind of understanding of the situation very consciously on their part. This isn't somebody that's just like bad at communicating. This isn't somebody that has been trying to like manipulate. This is somebody that realizes, okay, I took a step forward here, and then I didn't follow through with things that would make this person, would make you, the viewer, take me seriously. Maybe your guard has gone up as far as they're concerned. Their communication has gotten kind of limited or cold, so your communication has gotten limited or cold, and they've recognized that. And there's a sense like, this isn't the way that I wanted things to go, so the burden of proof is on me to show you something, to provide you with something, to demonstrate something to you that lets you know, I'm here, I'm making the effort towards you. Yeah, and we've got, well, Judgment card, but in this deck it's called Karma. And so this person sees that, like, if they don't do something to turn this situation around, it's like bad karma, like they're missing out on a blessing. But they also see you as somebody who has the potential to be their good karma, their reward for, you know, whatever their kind of like path in life, their path in love has looked like up to this point in time. They've come to this very precise juncture in time where they've met you, you've connected, there's been a spark, you've had a good time, the conversations flowed very nicely, like everything was a green light in this situation. And this person kind of like created a walking red flag out of themselves by the ways in which they have held back. And so they recognize that in order to kind of turn this situation around, so you're not just a missed opportunity, they need to cash in on that element of what you presented to them as in the first place, which was like good karma, the reward for, you know, keeping their heart open. You know, moving out of situations in the past that were no good for them, you know, kind of like whatever losses have happened in love that they've tried to heal and pick up the pieces from, has brought them to this particular moment in time where, like, now there's an opportunity with you. And so this person really doesn't want you to be somebody that they miss out on. And it feels like that is the push, that's the motivation, that's the incentive, you know, to provide some clarity, to provide you with peace of mind, to put your heart at ease in some sort of way. so that they can hopefully kind of like save the situation. They can kind of redeem themselves in your eyes and get this circumstance back on track in the direction of romance. We also have Six of Pentacles. Yeah, that's that energy of that generosity. A lot more that they're going to be providing as far as consistency with communication, making plans for the future, trying to be very actively engaged, an active listener, and at the same point in time, giving you clarity that is owed at this point in time. There may be like a big conversation that needs to take place, and they know kind of like that is sort of the limiting factor here. That you're not just going to sort of take them in if they start messaging you a lot, start calling a lot, start texting a lot. That's not going to be something that kind of like puts you in a relaxed mode. There's like, I need to do more than that. I need to kind of, start showing up more, but I also need to be a lot more detailed and thorough as far as what it is that I am providing, what it is that I am sharing, what it is that I am showing of my level of interest in you. There may have also been certain aspects between the two of you that were very different from one another, where it's kind of like you align with each other, but then there were certain like obvious things where they might have been like, hey, this is sort of an opposites attract situation. And so they'd been wrestling with that in themselves, kind of like, is this something that would be a conflict or a problem between the two of us? Or is this something that we could align, we could compromise, we could respect the differences between one another and just focus on that energy of love moving forward? And so that is something that it's almost like they want to maybe address something like that, that they had kind of kept hidden from you, or that you had just kind of like skimmed the surface of in some sort of way that was part of that sort of retreating into the headspace, sort of like, okay, this is something about me that is fundamentally different than something about you, and I don't know if that's going to be a problem for you or for me further down the road, but this is somebody that is like, I don't even care if that would be a problem. You are too important to lose. You are somebody that despite those differences, maybe that is something that will make for a more colorful relationship. Maybe that is something that can help us to grow and expand and become more tolerant through our dealings with one another. And so this is something where it feels like they want to address that directly. They want to kind of like get to see things and get to know things from your perspective, and also shed some light on certain like core beliefs or fundamental aspects about themselves that may also give you some sort of perspective of sort of like their worldview, what they're working with, but also kind of like the efforts that they're taking towards you to step out of their comfort zone, to try and kind of like find a way to be comfortable in the fact that you're not going to align about everything. Everything is not going to be all matchy between the two of you, but where it counts in terms of that chemistry, in terms of that kind of like shared enthusiasm to communicate, to get together, to get to know one another, to get closer. Other aspects about the two of you that do really align very beautifully. It's like that's what this person wants to emphasize. They don't want to look at the other factors that are kind of like, well, these are the differences between the two of us, so maybe we're too opposite to make this work. This is something where it's like, despite those differences, I want to invest in kind of like strengthening the strengths between the two of us, so that it can offset anything as we give ourselves time to kind of like adjust or acclimate to, or come to a different perspective or understanding about those kind of differences between the two of us. We also have Seven of Cups. So this is somebody that wants to provide you with some reassurances to help you see through any kind of illusions that may pop up for you in terms of like, okay, why are they coming forth now? Why are they, making effort at this point? Are they just going to breadcrumb me? Are they just going to, kind of invest and then pull back again? You may be a bit wary of this person at this particular point in time, either because this is something that you've had a little bit of back and forth with them, or you might just be at a point in your own life, in your own journey, where it's like you don't give multiple chances to people. It's kind of like you fumble the situation and you're out of here. And whatever the circumstance is, this person is aware that it's kind of like they're going to need to take a more patient and consistent approach. They can't just kind of come in and give you this whole big long speech about sort of like what they've learned in their kind of time away, what they have sort of discovered at this point. where it's almost on the brink of sort of like they know that they will no longer be a romantic option for you pretty soon, or they may have already felt you sort of like detached from the situation. Maybe it's kind of like, hey, they owe you some sort of communication because it's been a while, and so they do not expect to come back in very easily. This is somebody that's taking like a patient approach. They want to move quickly, but they almost sort of sense or anticipate like, yeah, it's going to take some time for you to warm up to me again. You may have been very open with them at first, but however they kind of handled the situation or let those fears or doubts or uncertainties kind of pull them away, and have kept them at a distance, or have created this kind of like sort of cold communication between the two of you. They understand that it's going to be a gradual process of kind of melting that ice between the two of you. It's not going to be icebreakers, it's going to be melting the ice, slowly, steadily. They're going to have to provide you with some sort of comfort, some sort of reassurance to give you the benefit of the doubt at this point, to where if you're going off into that realm of fear, you're going off into the realm of overthinking, they understand that they've kind of like created that situation here based on what they've done up to this point in time, or how they've handled things recently. So it feels like this is somebody that is bringing like a slow and steady approach, but there's also like a force of consistency here. They want to keep sort of taking a step towards you and taking a step towards you, very progressively and very gradually, getting to that place where trust can be reestablished and you can start to evolve this connection beyond just kind of like making up for lost time, and in the direction of making better and new memories with one another. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Like or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. And if you would like to book a personal reading with me, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.